Shall we crash onwards then to Pain and Glory?
Yes, let us do that. I'm a stronger ground there, fortunately. Pedro Almodóvar's Dolor y Gloria, Pain and Glory, begins with a film director reuniting with an actor whom he made famous and later fell out with. And during the film, the two will reconcile and together produce some of the best work of their respective careers. That director, Salvador Mayo, is played by Antonio Banderas, an actor who found fame in Almodóvar's films before falling out with him and later reconciling. You will then, I imagine, be unsurprised to learn that Mayo is an analogue for Almodóvar himself.
I know writers that use subtext, they're cowards.
And that, as well as being a celebration of film, the artistic process, the channeling of one's own pain into one's work, and a number of other themes, it's also pretty meta, by which I mean extremely meta. Not that Mayo is simply an Almodóvar cut and paste. He's a full, rounded character in its own right, and played superbly by Banderas, who must have been given a lot of trust by the director, just as Mayo trusts Garcia Echeandia's Alberto Crespo in the film. The chronically ill, and possibly hypochondriac Mayo, cannot work, having not fully recovered from the death of his mother and his physical pain and depression. A retrospective screening of one of his films, the same film in fact that drove him and Alberto apart, compels him to mend bridges with the actor, and leads to a series of reminiscences of his life. It also eventually leads to Salvador entrusting Mayo with Addiction, a memoir of an incredibly important period of his life, and as a result of that, to an act of reunion that is moving and gently heartbreaking, and among the greatest scenes in any of the director's films. It is also not the only scene in the film in which I felt my eyes glistening, though there's no hint of mawkishness anywhere. If you listened to our Pedro Almodóvar episode a little while ago, then you'll probably be unsurprised to hear me describing Pain and Glory as beautiful, colourful and full of light. It really looks glorious, from the colour of Salvador's vivid clothing to the searingly crisp white of the walls of his childhood home. Banderas is simply amazing, a performance informed both by his ability and his friendship with his director, and Echeandia and Almodóvar regulars Penelope Cruz and Julieta Serrano as the younger and older versions of Mayo's mother Jacinta give excellent support. Pain and Glory is magnificent, touching, charming, graceful, beautiful, eschewing the mawkishness others might have fallen prey to, particularly in the more personal and emotional scenes. There's plenty to dig into too, with commentary on the Franco era, piousness and religious control over education, as well as a prominent comment on a very recent, very polarising case involving the gang rape of a woman in Pamplona in 2016. But it's also simply a compelling character piece and a celebration of art and its power to explain and heal. This gets my patented "it's off a good" rating.
I only watched half of this, so I'm not going to pass too much comment on it, but what I mainly took away was that I assume that Almodóvar's now on the horse. Plainly smoking the heroin. That seems to be the takeaway from it.
Yeah, don't let it be, actually. That's... no, it's not. It's not. That's kind of a side thing, isn't it? It's more of a mechanism for him to explore his past, actually, than anything else.
Yeah. I should say, I watched half of this. Unfortunately, at the minute, the English subtitles are gash, and my Spanish is also gash, and combined, I kind of got enough to get muddled way through the first half of it, but it was giving me a tension headache, and I decided to stop. I was in the same place as the director himself at that point. I was going to need to go and lie there in a darkened room, so I thought I will wait until either I've learned enough Spanish or, more likely, the English subtitles come out in a couple of months and I can watch this properly. Up until that point, I can certainly agree with a lot of it. I mean, obviously, visually, it's Almodóvar. It looks like an Almodóvar film, but even with perhaps with the contrast styles cranked up even more, looks absolutely fabulous. And tremendous performance from Banderas, even the half that I saw, and I can only assume that we get a lot better. So I'm looking forward to watching this properly, and even from the taste that I had of it, I certainly can back up, or at least preliminarily back up what you're saying there. I can't imagine there's anything that would happen in the second half that would make it less awesome than the first half, assuming I understood it correctly.
How far did you get?
I would guess about 45 minutes, something like that. Just after he fails to turn up for the screening of that film.
Right, so when they're arguing in the kitchen.
Give or take, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, the best stuff is actually all after that. So,
Right.
yeah, you're in for a treat.
Good.
Yeah, I missed this in the cinema, unfortunately, but I got the Spanish Blu-ray and I watched it in Spanish. I did look into the English subs to help me, but the only ones available are Google translated garbage.
Yes, they have the width of the auto translate about them.
Yeah, I just thought was like, yeah, no, I'll stick to Spanish. It was a wee bit of a struggle, but I got most of it.
Yeah.
And it's fantastic. It's just such a beautiful film as well.
Yeah. The only thing that was throwing me a little bit is Antonio Banderas in my head always has the long, luscious, flowing locks of Desperado, and having watched it so recently, seeing him as an old guy it just seems weird. Still a very well preserved old guy, but there's altogether too much silver in that beard for for my liking.
Was it Antonio Banderas? It was also in Zorro, The Mask of Zorro. And such.
Correct. Yeah.
I tend to think of it in that period as well. Actually, when we went back to those Almodovar films recently, Scott seen him in stuff like Women on the Verge of a Nervous Breakdown. Like,
he's too young.
He's too young.
He's too young. That's too far.
Now he's too old and looks too much like Almodovar himself. It's like, you don't fit with my mental image of Desperado era Antonio Banderas. You can't possibly be real.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a beautiful, beautiful film. Definitely one of his best.
Almodovar and really good film Shock. Film at 11.
And I know I'm more enamoured of Almodovar than you are yourself at the start. I know you like a good number of his films.
Yeah. Certainly the first half of it seemed to be challenging Volver for being right up there with his best. So yes, looking forward to completing it.
Yeah, I have nothing more to say. I thoroughly enjoyed this, and it's definitely a film I will be returning to at some point in the future. And Scott will be returning to finish it in the future.
Yes.